What's up, y'all? It's Scott from Stringjoy Guitar Strings in Nashville, Tennessee, and today we're talking about something near and dear to my heart, chorus pedals. We're going to be talking very specifically about the different places you can put them in your chain. We're going to be putting them before and after things like drive and delay and reverb, and hearing what a chorus pedal sounds like in each of those positions. Now, I've mentioned on this channel before that I don't think there's necessarily a right place to put a given type of effect in your chain. There are conventional places that you would use them, and we'll talk about that. But ultimately, I think a lot of the uniqueness comes from putting something in a different position, getting a different sound and a different tone out of it, so long as what you're after, like me, is to have more of an individual sound that sounds a little bit more unique and just like you. So before we dive into testing out the different positions you can put a chorus pedal in your chain, let's talk a little bit about chorus in the first place. When you think of chorus, you probably think of the 1980s. It was, in my opinion at least, a little bit overused during that decade. They threw it on everything, but it does still have a use, and you see a lot more players playing it today than you would see a couple years ago, it seems like, to me anyway. But chorus as an effect basically aims to give you the sound of two different instruments, or two of the same takes of the same instrument playing the exact same part, so it feels a little bit thicker, it feels a little bit more rich, and it feels like more people are doing it, kind of like a chorus or a choir, if you can picture something like that. The way that chorus does this, in very layman's terms, because I am not a pedal designer, though I have some friends who could speak a little bit more accurately in that whole world in terms of what chips you're using and all that, but basically with a chorus pedal, what you're doing is creating a duplicate signal that is delayed and changed slightly in pitch. Your controls on your pedal will change things like how many of those signals you have with multi-voice choruses, how far apart those signals are, how different the pitch is, and you can hear all of those things when you hear an actual chorus pedal and fiddle around with the knobs and see what they all do. Even though you have two different signals, because they're relatively so close together, your ears perceive this as one instrument or two instruments kind of playing the same part right together. You don't really hear it as two very separate tracks. You kind of hear it all together as one overall sound, and that's the effect that you're familiar with chorus on the guitar. For our purposes today, we're going to be using one of my favorite chorus pedals, which is the Stonefish from Greenhouse Effects in Israel. This is a really great chorus and vibrato, even though we're going to be focusing more on the chorus aspect of it today. Some simple controls here. We've got a rate, a width, a depth, and a tone knob. Even with those four controls, I think you can do an awful lot with this chorus. I absolutely love it, and we're going to see even more of what it can do when we put it at different positions in our signal chain. Today I'm playing a Fender Mexican Jazzmaster through an Ampeg GVT5H going into an old Trainer 1x12 cabinet. Let's hear what my clean tone sounds like real quick. And now let's hear it with the Greenhouse Stonefish on. I've got all the knobs just dead on at noon, giving us a very classic but very rich chorus sound. So honestly, to me, I don't think we need to move any of the knobs at all. That gives me plenty of affected chorus without it being too much. You can definitely get really wild with pedals like these, but for today's purposes, we're mainly testing how the chorus responds to different effects. We're just going to keep it right there for the duration of the video. First up, we're using sort of the classic position for chorus in a signal chain. I've got a couple different pedals out here, an Electro-Harmonic Soul Food, just a nice, Klon-style overdrive, a quadrant delay from Alexander, and then I've got a countercurrent from Solid Gold Effects giving us a reverb. So basically we're going to be trying this out, adjusting for all of these different pedals, because I think these are kind of the most relevant pedals in your chain that your chorus responds to before or after. So we're starting out with the classic position. The chorus is coming right after our drive, which is where you usually want your modulation pedals, but before our delay and before our reverb that's there at the end of the chain. This is basically what the textbooks will tell you to do with your pedals. Let's hear it responding to each of those different pedals. That's just with drive. Let's add in a little bit of delay. Then let's add in a little bit of reverb to round it all out. So to me, with the chorus in front of the drive, I actually hear things a little bit tighter almost. I can hear more of that chorus than I can when we're chorusing the drive. To me, I kind of even like this a little bit more than otherwise. I will say it's a little bit more of a subtle adjustment, and that might be the case entirely with our chorus pedal in different positions as compared to some things like phasing or things like that. But overall, I kind of like this tone even a little bit better than the classic position. All right, so let's focus a little bit on delay now. We're going to hear our chorus going straight into this quadrant from Alexander without drive or anything else on, so we can focus on just that. Believe it or not, that's with the mod all the way off on the quadrant. I didn't want to have any more modulation kind of muddying things up for these purposes, but I like that sound. It gives me a lot of that nice, clean, chorusy sound. The delay really just adds to the richness of the tone. But let's throw the chorus behind the quadrant and see how that changes things. So there I can hear a huge difference versus having the chorus in front of the delay. I'm getting a way more powerful chorus than I am delay, which makes sense. Every time we're getting one of those delay trails, we are chorusing that delay trail. So overall, it really makes a difference in terms of which is the more pronounced pedal. When it's after the delay, I'm getting a ton of chorus. If I really like having just all the chorus in the world, that would be where I would put it. For more of a subtle thing, it going ahead of the delay makes a lot of sense. The interesting thing to me is that because of the delay running into the chorus, it actually almost makes it sound more like a multi-chorus, having multiple voices than like a more subtle chorus. One last thing I want to note before I switch the position on this is that when I'm chorusing my delay, the trails get kind of interesting because it makes the trails individually sound a little bit more wide and more large. So now let's focus a little bit on reverb. I turned off our delay. Let's hear this chorus going straight into the countercurrent. So that gives us our nice, rich, sort of classic approach to chorus. We're getting the chorus at the front end, we're adding some reverb after it, so it basically makes it feel like there are two different guitars playing the same part in the same room. Really kind of glues everything together really nicely. Let's see what happens when we throw the chorus behind the reverb. So in that case, you could definitely hear the chorus really affecting the tone of the reverb. Instead of feeling like we're in like a really normal hall, if not a very large hall, it feels like we're on some sort of alien landscape or something like that, since the actual perceived space that we're in is getting modulated. It really takes things a little bit off the rails. Again, it masks a little bit of that reverb. To me, I'm hearing more of the chorus with it at the end of the chain, which has really been the story for a lot of these different pedals, maybe with the exception of drive. But it makes a pretty cool sound. And now just for fun, let's hear all these pedals on with the chorus at the very end of the chain and see how chorus heavy it sounds. As you can hopefully see there, that's a totally different sound than we had earlier with the chorus in the classic position and everything on. And I really think the differences are pretty pronounced when you put it before and after things like a drive or a delay or a reverb. Where is it going to make sense in your chain? I have no idea, but the best thing I would recommend is to try it out, try all the different possible combinations, and see what sort of weird tones you can figure out. Also, if you're like me and you're playing more at home these days and don't need your rig hardwired, it can be really great to just have your pedals kind of floating around and be able to experiment with where they sit in the chain a little bit more than when everything's wired up on a board and it's really hard to pull pedals out, switch them around, and plug them back in. So I'm interested in hearing your thoughts. Where do you have your chorus pedal in your chain? Do you have it in the classic position? Do you have it in some different other iteration? If so, let us know why. I'm eager to hear from you.